What's up, everyone? It's Diecastbuffet here again, guys. We have one of the most random Jeff Gordon diecasts ever. The 1996 Dover raced win. And yes, it did have red wheels on it. That's not a factory error. It actually raced with that. We'll be talking about the backstory to it and everything. Let's go ahead and check it out. And here we go, folks, with today's diecast review. And such a awesome looking paint scheme here in the studio. We'll be talking more about the history with this paint scheme and why does it have red wheels. We'll be talking all about that, the origins about it. But what an awesome looking paint scheme here. The 1996 Dover win. I mean, it's kind of wild to think that, you know, this race happened almost 30 years ago. And who would have thought they would be making a 1/64 scale diecast for it? Just remarkable stuff. And I want to say this is when Dover was actually a 500-mile event. I think it was the Miller High Life 500 or something like that. So that's a throwback of throwbacks. The official name just the Dupont 96 Dover win, the 96 Chevy Monte Carlo. And let's go ahead and get the diecast out of the box. And here we go, fellas. What a beautiful, beautiful looking diecast here in the studio. This is based on the mid to late 90s Monte Carlo diecast mold. You can see it says 95 to 99 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. They pretty much used a very similar body style for all those years. A little bit of a hair right there. Anyways, they used pretty much the same diecast mold for the majority of, or the same body style for the most portion of the late of that decade there. And they would change it in year 2000. And they kept the diecast mold from the Winter Circle line, or the Action line, and they still use it today. This is the same diecast mold they used on the Dale Earnhardt Daytona 500 race twin. I think there's a couple of Jeff Gordon race twins. I think it was like 98 Darlington or something like that. So a whole bunch of great race wins from that era that has been made in 1/64 scale. And it's just so cool to see them go back in time and make some of these classic race wins. There's so many great events that never got made, not even in 1/24 scale. So 1/64 scale, you could imagine. Go to the front of the diecast, and again, same diecast mold as it was back in the original Winter Circle releases in the 90s, but you have that window bar printed detail, which was something more exclusive to maybe the elite 1/64s, not so much the normal retail line style. So you have a little bit of a sun visor attachment there with the window bars. Very, very sharp, how you can see the difference in the texture from the gloss on the plastic and then the kind of a satin texture on the bar detail. Very, very sharp. Got Dupont right there on the hood. You can see that very sparkly metallic blue paint job. You have the stripes. You have that fluorescent red orange that is so iconic with Jeff Gordon race cars. And how about this? You got even some dirt and some tape and some debris on the front of the diecast. I mean, imagine watching this race in 1996 and just, you know, no diecast gets offered for it. And then, you know, 30 years later, just about, they actually make a race to win diecast for it. Just remarkable stuff. And, you know, what's funny, they actually are offering a 1995 Terry Labonte Richmond race to win truck diecast. The first ever classic NASCAR truck 1/64 ever to be offered, you know, through the NASCAR Classics line. They were making NASCAR diecast for trucks back in 95, but a raced win version. And it was the DuPont paint scheme with the number 5, but it was Terry Labonte that drove it. You could pre-order that diecast right now at a Circle B, and you could pick this one up as well. Make sure you use a promo code if you don't mind. Help support the channel. But, you know, if you're a fan of this diecast, you're probably going to want that Terry Labonte one because it looks awesome, man. Got Western Auto right there. Plastalock, Simpson, Moog, Edelbrock, Union 76, Competition cams, I think that's what it is. JE and Mac Tools got number 24. Monte Carlo got the bow tie. Naturally, this is before the true headlight decals. They did have the outlining. I think some of the teams actually ran the true headlight decals, and I think some of the teams didn't. So I want to say this was optional at this point. Go to the left side of the diecast, just arguably the most iconic NASCAR paint scheme ever. I mean, it's going to either be the STP 43, the black number 3, or the, you know, the rainbow DuPont 24. I mean, it's just, to me, that's the top 3 most iconic paint schemes, I think, in NASCAR history. And remarkable, remarkable stuff. True day glow, metallic paint, looks fantastic. And you have those wheels on the side. I talked about, you know, talking about the backstory of them. So I looked around and I seen a comment on one of the, I think actually the Diecast unboxing, or you know, the haul for this car, And someone mentioned that the wheels came from Steve Grissom. He drove the 29 car in 1996. It was part of the Cartoon Network promotion. It was like Cartoon Network Wacky Racing Team. It was a fun little partnership with NASCAR and the Winston Cup Series. Anyways, he had red wheels on his car, and this is back in NASCAR when they were not limited to a certain number of tires per event. You could go to a team, and if you were a big budget team like a Hendrick Motorsports, you could buy out spare sets from other cars that were either off the pace or maybe they crashed out early. Anyways, he ran red wheels, and I want to say this is where he got them from. They bought them from Steve Grissom's team. I could be tripping on that. There might have been some other cars in the field. I don't know if this was bought at Dover or maybe it was the week before. I have no idea. But you could even look it up, and he does have the red wheels. I want to say they're almost fluorescent, to be honest with you. From what I've seen on some of the official diecasts that were made, they were almost like a day glow orange. So these don't look true bright red, but I think it actually looks better than them doing it day glow, because these are going to have some dirt built up on them. They're going to have some brake dust, X, Y, and Z. So I would say this looks a lot closer to what it would look like in Victory Lane in terms of race wear. But that's kind of a little bit of a backstory to it. I want to assume it was Steve Grissom. I'm not 1,000% on it, percent on that. Sure, but I think that's where it came from. So remarkable stuff. Thinking about just a random set of tires in 1996 would find its way to really getting this diecast produced 30 years later, because without the red wheels, it's not going to be that iconic. It's got Goodyear right there. Dupont True Value, NASCAR Winston Cup Series. No Winston. NASCAR Cup Series decal there. NASCAR Race Car, Rebestos, RCA. That's a throwback. Holly, Prestone, 3M. 3M on a 90s diecast. I don't remember that too much. Got Mechanics Wear, Bowman. It's funny that Bowman would drive for Hendrick 30 years later, just about. Jessel, Aeroquip, Spicer, Stant, whatever that decal is. Goodies, Clavite 7 RP or AP, something like that. Goodyear, and I think that's would be the Budweiser Pole Award. Got Jeff Gordon's signature, AC. DuPont Automotive Finishes, Quaker State. That's actually interesting, because Quaker State is no longer a Hendrick sponsor. That's actually, they're a Valvoline now. So I don't know if they're part of the same brand or not, but that's actually kind of funny. Usually they swap those out. Got Hendrick right here. I think there's some other missing decals here, but for the most part, really complete looking car. I mean, all these contingencies, remarkable stuff. Got a little bit of some dirt and grime right there. Maybe he did a little bit of a burnout, or who knows. Go to the back panel of the diecast. You have DuPont Automotive Finishes there. Got the number 24 with the Quaker State decal. True fluorescent, man. I tell you what, the late 90s Monte Carlo body style is just absolutely remarkable. You can see a lot of like little small dents and scuffs on the back bumper. Great looking diecast mold, and it's very accurate to the real car. If you look at pretty much any late 90s Chevrolet Winston Cup car, it is like 9.9 out of 10 perfect match to this. It's one of the greatest diecast molds in terms of accuracy for the 90s, because in those years they had so many inaccurate diecast molds. Like the Ford Taurus for the late 90s, made by Action, which this is the original mold from. They were Hasbro, Winter Circle, Action. It's a little bit quirky, right? So it's amazing to me how like the Chevy one is super accurate, but maybe the Ford one was a little bit off. And then you look at the Pontiac one, and it was dang near perfect. So just a remarkable era that it was, and how some diecast molds were super accurate, and some of them were kind of a little bit left to be desired. You have some scrapage on the right side of the car. I have no idea how it got that. I'm guessing maybe on just hard racing or whatnot. The saying goes, if your right side's tore up, you're racing. If your left side's tore up, you're just in the way. Top of the diecast, you have the Dayglow 24. And this is something I've noticed on the Brickyard race twin, which I'll show real quickly here. That so I think Jeff Gordon either had Pepsi or Coca-Cola or something. I have no idea. He had something on the deck lid of the car, and it would have been blank, right? Because they didn't want to be on the car. So I guess they put the race events there nowadays. I don't know. It's different. Kind of reminds me of the Darlington Chase Elliott win from 2014 in the Xfinity Series, but I'm glad they did it on the deck lid and not the roof of the car. So W line L on that. But yeah, the Brickyard inaugural race win. Check that diecast out. Beautiful stuff. Then the Dover win. You know, honestly, I think the random raced wins, you know, the Richmond raced wins, the Dover raced wins, I think are probably one of the coolest things ever because they're so random that no one expects them to get produced. You know, you expect the Daytona 500s, you expect, you know, maybe the Darlington Southern 500 wins, but when it's just a random event, like, I hope someday they make some of like Jimmy Johnson's early wins in his career. Like, how cool would it be to get maybe a 2003 New Hampshire Jimmy Johnson raced win or something? Like, how cool would that be? So those are my favorite raced wins, is the really obscure ones. Those are my favorite ones. So thank you all for watching the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Pick up your copy of this car today. Diecast Buffet signing off.